It's pretty clear that UCLA and Mick Cronin have to figure out their late game woes. So what are the four things that have hurt them in some of their big collapses or near collapses this year? I've got four M's here on Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. And, hey, it's your team every day. So what are we talking about today? It's the four M's of UCLA's near collapses and things they have to fix going forward in what has resulted in two huge chokes, a 16-point choke of a lead against North Carolina, a 17-point lead against Minnesota, and then, of course, what was the near, arguably biggest disaster in their 14-point lead with 2 minutes left against Northwestern. Alas, the UCLA Bruins held on and won 73-69. So what are the four M's I have in my mind? In no particular importance, I'm going to go with one, mismanagement. What do I mean by mismanagement? Well, in late game scenarios, if you can really point to the North Carolina game and the Northwestern game, you look at twice, there's been key possessions, or multiple times in the Northwestern game, UCLA scrambling in their own backcourt. They just simply inbound it to Dylan Andrews or whomever in the back corner, leading itself to a double-team trap. If you remember, UCLA was up 1 against North Carolina in Madison Square Garden. The ball was brought in to Dylan Andrews. His hand got slapped. The ball fell off his knee, and he had no time to move. That's the hardest angle, arguably, for the official to see a call if they're going to slap your hand. You get no wiggle room if you muff the pass, and you have limited movements to turn around and throw the basketball elsewhere. And UCLA has simply done that on multiple occasions. There's got to be a better press break, a better way to handle that. So mismanagement. And if you remember, UCLA had timeouts to work with. Mick Cronin talked about in the postgame that he was screaming timeout. The officials probably couldn't hear him. Tyler Bilodeau theoretically was screaming timeout, but even Mick Cronin realized and acknowledged that Bilodeau, I don't even know what he was doing when he turned it over late and fell to the floor and traveled, basically, right? So the players have to respond to the coaches telling them that, hey, there's timeouts. Cronin's got to do a better job of, if he can yell and scream, why can't we hear him when we're trying to call a timeout late in the game when they have some to save themselves in the backcourt? So mismanagement of the timeouts, how to run the press break, how to just simply inbound it to the right spot where you're splitting guards and you're just taking it a foot away from the end line and the sideline. That's coffin corner. You're just leaving yourself out to die. Right? There's nothing you're going to do with the basketball in that corner. Nothing. The best you can get is a jump ball and hope the arrow is pointing your way. That is one huge thing. Two, let's go on to misses. All right? Not mismanagement now, misses. And we all know what I mean by this. Misses. Misses from the free throw line. We're not getting married to the misses. No, UCLA is trying to break away from the misses here with the good old free throw misses. We want makes. Turn misses into makes. The M&Ms, you get rid of one, you get another. We want the makes. We don't want the misses. In every single near blown lead, UCLA has missed front ends in the 1-on-1. They've had double misses like they did against Minnesota, where they had multiple chances to ice it, tie it, take the lead, extend it, missed it so many times. And then seeing what happened last night, where you missed the front end of a 1-on-1. You missed the front end of a free throw, which meant Northwestern, all they had to do in the last game was drive to the basket, and luckily UCLA got the call when they fouled Martinelli and they didn't call it. And UCLA then eventually made their free throws at the end on the flagrant foul and the subsequent foul by the Northwestern Wildcats. Okay, so we've known that UCLA does tend to miss free throws in some weird moments with guys who are decent shooters. Like, I don't understand why they're struggling so much and why they can't get the ball to better players with better shooting numbers whose heartbeat's a little slower, who have ice in their veins. The Bruins have done well, ironically, in these games where they're winning by 5 points or fewer, they're decided by 5 points or fewer, UCLA's 8-3. You wouldn't think that, would you, after those near collapses? But UCLA is 8-3 in games decided by 5 points or fewer. Now, the North Carolina game shouldn't have been, the Minnesota game shouldn't have been, and this game shouldn't have been. You take away those, UCLA 7-1 in games decided by 5 points or fewer. All right. And then in that one game that was 5 points or fewer, that's because UCLA was down like 15 and almost pulled it off against Illinois. So in reality, in a game that's back and forth and really close, UCLA, when they haven't blown a lead or turned what was a blowout into a close game, they play pretty well. But for some reason, holding on to leads has been a big problem. Mismanagement and misses. Now let's go over to the last couple of late game scenarios. Something you'll not see in some of those blown leads for UCLA is a presence of Aday Mara on the court. Okay, well, he's not the best free throw shooter. I get it. Maybe he's not the strongest with the ball. But hey, if he's in there and the team's going around, why not have him stand there and play defense and know that if the guy's going to shoot the layup, he's got to go around a 7-3 center. Put him in there defensively. Oh, if he gets a rebound and swats it away, it's going to kill some time. It's going to be a lot tougher to rebound theoretically after how we saw Aday Mara play late in the game in a win against Northwestern. Okay? Or when the game's on the line and they're down a point or two to the likes of Minnesota, to North Carolina, even though Mara hadn't emerged just yet, or in this game, say it would have been tied, why not give Mara a chance, put him in there, and then he can kick it out, and they can have an open shot, or he can go dunk it and fight through the potential foul. But there's many more options when you put in your 7-3 player late in games, maybe defensively, just to throw things off for a possession, right? He doesn't have to play for the full 2 minutes or something. Obviously, if you're trying to make free throws, Aday Mara is not going to be the option you want out there, but mix it up. Like maybe have the 7-3 guy inbound it so he can throw those one-hand whip passes down the court instead of a little bounce pass in the corner where you get it stolen. All right. And if it's stolen, then you got a 7-3 guy to block the shot on the way back. I don't know. Those are crazy things. There's maybe smarter, better answers. But Mara on the court at some point late in those scenarios should be an option. Not as a free throw shooting option, but as a guy that, hey, you've blown the lead and you need a bucket, you give the ball to Mara. You've want a defensive stop to change it because the 6'11 Dawson Garcia is cooking you like it happened in Minnesota? Maybe it's not directly correlated to him being on or off the court, but hey, I'd like a 6'11 guy going against a 7-3 guy in the paint as opposed to a 6'8, 6'7, 4 playing the 5. Aday Mara has not been on the court in those final sequences when UCLA is nearly coughed up or has humongous leads late in games. That's when he's been off the court. And then the fourth and final M in my, masterpiece here is the Mack attack, our favorite. We know exactly what would have happened if UCLA had given up the lead. Okay, let's go. Foul, hit Martinelli, he hits 2 free throws. Cool. There's about 5, 6, 7 seconds left in that game. I forget how much time against Northwestern. In a tie game, we know where the ball would have gone. It would have gone most likely to Mack. Where that should have been, where I kind of combine those points to number 3, hey, why not have Mack work with Mara in that situation? Have him be able to lob it, a foul, or if he misses and he goes quick, Mara can tip it in. Why hasn't UCLA ever done that in this year with the game on the line? Now, we've seen Daly make big shots. We've seen Dylan Andrews make big shots the last couple of years, multiple occasions. UCLA's gone to Mack, and I can't honestly remember. Yes, he did make a shot in the Minnesota game with like a minute left and still like almost missed. But like in the final 5 seconds of a game when the team knows it's coming, I don't remember a game where Sebastian Mack was able to come through in the clutch in that situation when everybody knew it was coming. He's like that option where you dribble drive somewhere else, you lob it to Mara, who then gives it to a cutting Mack who is not going to get stopped. But having him go from half court, slowly build up, put his shoulder down, head down, that's not going to work. The Mack attack has not been a successful end-of-game scenario, so you mismanage those end-of-game clock scenarios. Mack shouldn't be the one with the ball. As much as Dylan Andrews is inefficient, I've seen him come through when he's dropped the ball, banked into 3, hit another big 3 to close the game against Washington. He's come through. Eric Daly Jr.'s got this clutch factor about him. Like, come on. Anything but that. I'm fairly confident we would have seen a Mack attack with that game on the line, potentially heading to overtime. Even though we've seen other guys have the ball, go for the win, that was maybe the scenario. So again, mismanagement, how to break the press, how to use the timeouts, players, coaches, that's a lot of everything. Misses. Players, got to make your free throws, man. Got to make your free throws. Mara, why not put him in the game? Mix it up for a possession or two. Knock the ball away, kill some time. If you're down 2, down 1, up 1, I don't know, put it in there. I understand he's not going to make the free throws, but why not draw the foul? Why not see what happens there and mix it up? And then fourth, the Mack attack, something that UCLA's resorted to, and it doesn't always work. If you fix those or disguise some of those better, whether it be the inbound into the corner, the inbounds pass, or the Mack attack, that's just not him kind of weaving around half court before he goes and attacks. You disguise those better, then we might see UCLA hold on to these leads in the final 2 minutes of games a lot better than they have been. And then that's how you go on a run in March. You have to steal a game. You have to hold on to the leads, and you got to beat teams by 14 and not choke it late. Okay? We don't want to be on the highlight reel of another bad beat, quote unquote, of March Madness. You know what the bad beats of March Madness are? Not the Scott Van Pelt type. No, we're talking of the, oh, you're a legendary YouTube highlight because they choked a lead or they threw a half-court shot up. All right? And yes, UCLA's been on the wrong end of a few of those last couple of years, but not because they've choked a 10-point lead. That's what this year's team has the potential to do, while they also have the potential to figure it out with a dangerous center, some decent guard play, some scrappy defense, and clutch shooting. They can go on a run if we want to believe and if they put it together. But they got to figure out the 4Ms. Next, let's actually dissect what the latest bracketology is for UCLA and what their path could be. All right? Here on Locked On UCLA. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. And their easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources. You get the latest product info that can get the job done, a complete inventory over 200,000 parts from up to 400 plus top brands. You'll find exactly what you need that's delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you always have the ability to talk to a real person. Trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, the free shipping, and discounts in every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. It's your turn now. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Again, use the promo code SH and the number 5. SH and the number 5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, cruising on here in Locked On UCLA. We're talking segment 2, where the Bruins, they're trying to get themselves a much better seed in March Madness, right? We got the Big Ten tournament coming up. We've got the likes of UCLA playing USC, things that could help or hurt the overall resume for UCLA. But looking at the latest bracketology, UCLA is currently in the East region playing as a 6th seed in Providence. It's about the worst possible thing you'd want as a UCLA fan. Right now, that's from Joe Lenardi, the update after the UCLA win against Northwestern. So, you get to be in the Duke Regional. You get to be in the same coast with Maryland, potentially. You would potentially have to play Rick Pitino and St. John's in Providence in the East Coast. And then, oh, by the way, if you're in the East Regional, you have to go across the country. So not once, just twice to maybe get to a chance to travel even further east or just as far. I forget where the Final Four is this year, but you're going to have to travel east to go in this route, right? You got to go to Providence, not close. Newark, not close. And then if you want to go on the run, crazy. You don't want to play the first round in Providence, Rhode Island, where you're playing East Coast teams, Eastern United States teams, like the Georgias, like they're projected to play. Georgia just beat Florida on their home court. You've got St. John's projected as a second round matchup. All sorts of crazy nonsense. that could leave UCLA on the wrong end of things. And playing an SEC team in the first round for UCLA, man, that'd present a unique challenge. I don't know if I'd want that or if that's just horrible managing of the seed lines, but that's what Joe Lunardi is projecting. Recently had been a 6 seed with a West Coast first round or a West Coast second round. That is what UCLA wants, all right? You want to avoid Providence at all costs, because if you're playing in Providence, you're most likely playing against teams that are going to have a significant home court advantage. St. John's would be in that category for sure. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. So UCLA would rather go in a West Regional. Well, they haven't banked on enough wins. Right now, the 6th seed in the West is playing in Wichita. That's Marquette against UC San Diego. Okay, 6th seed in the Midwest. Louisville, okay, cool. Then you've got the 6th seed in Denver. In the South is St. Mary's. All right. So St. Mary's is the one that would potentially have to play Indiana. But because you mix and match, UCLA obviously can't play a Big Ten team in the first round because Indiana is one of those last teams in the NCAA tournament. And if they're getting punished by being sent west, then UCLA, because of the seeding, is going to get thrown across the bracketing, across the tournament seeding, and might get sent east, which is why a win against USC is paramount. A run of at least a win or two in the Big Ten tournament would be huge. And since they're not going to have a double bye, at least 2 wins against competition, UCLA should hopefully beat, even though this Big Ten tournament is going to look wonky and still has a couple more twists and turns into the final standings that we're waiting for. I just wonder what it's going to look like. So UCLA would have to travel potentially across the country, not once, but twice if they want to go to a first and to a second weekend. Now things are a little more even. It's neutral courts, but you play St. John's and Providence. That's anything it's far removed from a neutral site setting for UCLA in this scenario, all right? The rabid Johnny fans, they're going to go crazy. And then Mick Cronin versus Rick Pitino, that would be a crazy coaching matchup to see how that plays out. I'd want to avoid it. I'd certainly love to avoid that in a second round in the East Coast, in the upper East Coast, in the Northeast, as much as possible. So it's important for UCLA to take care of business at home against USC. Let's take a look at the UCLA resume right now. I'm pulling up the net rankings and the quad one wins for UCLA. All right. So the Bruins are currently 7-8 in quad one games. The Bruins in their net ranking, they've bounced up to 23. They've fallen to 27, 25. They've gone back and forth. With their loss to Purdue, they now have 8 quad one losses, 6 quad one wins. And actually, if you include the Northwestern one last night at home, that is a quad one victory on the road. What is hurting UCLA a little bit in terms of their rankings and their love is UCLA is one ranking on 3 different teams away from having a lot better wins. What do I mean by that? Oregon is the 31st ranked team in the country net-wise, right? So if they move up one spot with another, if Oregon beats Indiana and they move up, then UCLA is going to have a quad one win at home against Oregon. They have a quad one win on the road. The Ducks are really good, but for some reason, Oregon just falls right outside that qualification for a quad one win, and then they'd be 7-8. We take a look at the USC game. USC is currently 76th in the country. So when USC comes to Pauley, that's a quad 3 home game, technically. That's within the lines of Washington and Minnesota. That's what they're expecting that game to be for like UCLA as a home game, analytically speaking. Now, I believe Minnesota is probably better than a quad 3. USC, when they're playing well, is better than a quad 3, but the Trojans have slumped. That's how dangerous USC is, but they're also one spot below being a quad 2. So that win at USC, quad 2 win. We all knew USC was playing much better. They had just beaten Illinois on the road, and I think Illinois was healthy. And USC is just one spot away. If they move up in the standings in any way, that's another quad 1 victory. And all of a sudden, UCLA has a winning record in quad 1. Ohio State, if they go on a run, if they get a big win, they're just outside quad 1 territory. All that means is it's bolstering the resume for UCLA when they're like, this team's got 8 quad 1s, 7 quad 1s, 5 quad 1s. Well, UCLA They got a big one in Northwestern. USC could potentially help that just by simply playing UCLA. But if UCLA loses, I'm not sure if that helps or hurts the ratings because you'd get a quad 3 loss at home, but that also might fall into quad 2 territory. And then we're just kind of, we're separating little pieces and facts there. So all UCLA has to do is win a game, and that could severely impact what their resume looks like. The win against Arizona looks great. The win at Oregon looks good. The loss against New Mexico on a neutral court does not look bad. The win against Gonzaga, who is very highly ranked in these net rankings for some reason, looks really good on a neutral court. The win against Michigan State, the battle against Wisconsin, which they won, those are huge wins for UCLA. And currently where they are in the Big Ten standings are right around where they're at in the Big Ten net rankings as well. But the Bruins need some numbers to swing their way. The eye test, a couple more signature wins, and that can help where they're placed location-wise, path-wise, and seeding-wise to go on and run the NCAA tournament. Because this team has an absolute chance to do so. But it's all about path, how the tournament unfolds, and hopefully they're rested and well prepared enough and play well on that certain day to come out with the victory. Next, we're talking the UCLA women's. They got their awards. Who are the award winners on the women's side after UCLA's latest loss to USC heading into the Big Ten tournament? All that and more next on Locked On UCLA. So UCLA found themselves in the wrong ends of a loss against USC. They've been swept. UCLA now the 4th ranked team in the country. They're still a 1 seed, but they were this close from being the top number 1 overall 1 seed. Now, instead, we're waiting to see how that plays out. So here are the Big Ten awards. I think they played out about as the winner of this game between UCLA and USC was probably going to decide Coach of the Year, unlikely to decide Player of the Year, but maybe it would have swung some votes, and it eventually went this way. So the winners for UCLA ended up being Janiah Barker as Big Ten 6th Player of the Year, Lauren Betts as a Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and then we all know who Big Ten Player of the Year was. You know, that sophomore guard across town. And Coach of the Year, well, that's going to be USC's Lindsey Gottlieb. And then you mix in Cambridge and Olivia Olson. Those are the co-Big Ten Freshman of the Year. That is where UCLA was able to get some big awards. Lauren Betts was clearly one of the most dominant forces defensively in the paint with her block shots, a couple of steals, and her high field goal percentage while also dominating the rebounding category as well. So Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, Lauren Betts. Now, if UCLA had won and beaten USC, maybe Coach of the Year goes to Corey Close. No chance when Lindsey Gottlieb goes out and navigates 2 wins against UCLA. Doesn't happen. Big Ten first team, UCLA, Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice. Fair enough. I think that's a fair draw. Nobody else deserved first team territory from UCLA in this rankings. On the second team, you will see no UCLA players. You see a lot of M's, Michigan State, Michigan, Maryland, but no Bruins. Fair enough. You go to the honorable mention, and that's where you'll see London Jones on that list. All right? You'll see London Jones on the list as an honorable mention. What's interesting is that the 6th Player of the Year isn't on any of these lists. Not the first team, not the second team, not the honorable mention list. No. But, okay. But Janiah Barker, 6th Player of the Year, UCLA. But that's how deep it is, right? Because you're probably balancing starters and really good players from every team. And not everybody has the depth to play a player like Janiah Barker, like UCLA does, coming off the bench consistently, where she produces in a multitude of ways. So UCLA had 3 honorees in the all Big Ten team awards, right? 2 first teamers and 1 honorable mention in London Jones. You look at the defensive team, that's Lauren Betts, that's who highlights it. All freshman team, no Bruins. So Alina Arnosalo garnered no love there. All right. So then we look at I'm looking at some more as well. So we had the Big Ten coaches voted on one, the Big Ten media on another. Still Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year is Lauren Betts. 6th Player of the Year is Janiah Barker. And then you go to the honorable mention list, Gabby Jaquez Gabriela Jaquez is on the honorable mention list by the media. So between those two players, UCLA had Jaquez as an honorable mention from the media. You had London Jones as an honorable mention from the coaching staff. And then you mix in Kiki Rice, Lauren Betts, and then Janiyah Barker as the award winners. It's interesting how differently the media views what the coaches think differently. It's always funny to see the balance. And with there being 18 teams, there's a lot of different opinions, a lot of different media outlets from what they saw and who dominated. Gabriela Jaquez didn't really play that well down the stretch. She had some big games early, had a huge game against Ohio State, which probably put her in that conversation. Just that performance against Ohio State alone, when they were ranked in the top 10 as an honorable mention. Okay, they have different freshman players of the year, both the coaches and the media, but overall, I think UCLA didn't get screwed in any awards. Got 4 players up there. They're the second best team in the Big Ten right now. And if Corey Close really wanted that Big Ten championship, Big Ten coach of the year, all that, she would have just needed to win one game against USC, either or, and she'd be Big Ten coach of the year, in my opinion. Didn't, but all she had to do was win one of those games, and the Bruins were unable to do so. I don't think UCLA suffered anything from the awards, and I think it was pretty fair. Pretty fair for a super conference with 18 teams where maybe more players deserve more love and recognition and honors and awards. But when you start creating super conferences, coast-to-coast media, all right, this is almost like you're trying to name an all-NBA thing, right? When you got 18, 20 teams involved and coaches and media, that's how crazy they're trying to do with an 18-team league. And UCLA survived that as well. Now, moving on, UCLA is the 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. They've got some, battles ahead. UCLA is going to play the winner of, wait for this, they're going to play the winner of, it's tough to look at the Big Ten tournament graphic. It's really tough to read on the eyes sometimes. UCLA is going to play the winner of Rutgers and Nebraska / Illinois. Rutgers and Nebraska play each other. The winner plays Illinois. And the winner of that game will play UCLA Friday, March 7th. All right. And if UCLA wins, they get to the semifinal. Is expected to be, I would think, Ohio State, although Iowa gets Wisconsin. They could win that, play Michigan State. So any one of those could be another top 25 battle for UCLA to put another win like that on their resume. And then you put that in the final. And I think what we all want to see is UCLA USC Part 3 in the Big Ten tournament final, which I hope would lead to a UCLA victory. I truly, truly do. I hope so. But they have to improve and take care of business with 2 more wins in Indianapolis at Gainbridge Fieldhouse before they can even get close to thinking about a rematch with USC. 3 straight games, 3 straight days. The Bruins did this in November. They did this when they went to Hawaii to prepare for this scenario exactly. When they played the Rainbow Wahine and the third and final day, the Bruins didn't play that well. So it's going to be a determination of grit, tenacity, and who has the heart to win on that third straight day when they play USC. It might not even be game plan. It just has the heart and the strength and the courage to battle to win that third straight game on a third straight day. Now, there's been crazier things before, 5 games, 5 days, multiple times. But UCLA, as a top team, that's as tough as it gets to play 3 games in 3 days, which is what every team is going to have to do during conference tournament time, for sure. Absolutely. Every team has to do something like this. But if UCLA wants a chance to keep that 1 seed, get that win over USC, get a Big Ten tournament title, and get some confidence going into the tournament, that is the way to do it. That is the way to do it. All right. So the Bruins win some awards. They want to add one little piece of hardware, hopefully en route to a journey for some bigger hardware, a big NCAA championship, hopefully for the first time in their NCAA era to win a tournament. Hopefully. But until then, we're going to talk more UCLA stuff, more football, basketball, spring sports, everything here on Locked On UCLA. Like, comment, subscribe, download, review. Thanks for your support. Get your hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.